The 2004 USC Trojans burst onto the college football landscape with an insane collection of young talent. Led by star quarterback Matt Leinart, who captained the ship and took home the Heisman Trophy. Then they had two young dynamic wideouts in Dwayne Jarrett and Steve Smith making a ton of plays. Then they had a battering ram in the backfield in Lendale White, but their number one star was the legend, the X Factor, the human highlight reel, Reggie Bush, who is one of the most dynamic players and greatest stars the college football world has ever seen. So we are going to recreate this legendary season in the college football revamp mod, and we have three goals we have to complete. Our first goal is to go undefeated and win the national title just like the 2004 USC Trojans. Then Leinart won the Heisman in 2004, but I want to take home the Heisman with Reggie Bush, who won it the next year in 2005. Then during the 2004 season, the USC Trojans averaged 38 points per game, so we have to beat this mark to finish off this goal. Now, we open the season as the 14th ranked team in the nation, and we are hosting unranked Hawaii. And SC is led by outstanding sophomore Reggie Bush, and he is back to return the opening kick, and he opens the season streaking down the sideline, and House calls the kickoff for 105 yards, putting everyone on notice that they're going to have to contain this dynamic playmaker, and this is a sign of things to come with this USC offense taking it to Hawaii in every phase of the game, with Leinart throwing for over 300 yards and their dynamic weapon on the outside, Dwayne Jarrett, going for 127 through the air, and then Reggie was unstoppable, rushing for 169 yards and had some huge dynamic runs, and he added 3 touchdowns to his total, and the Trojans took this one home 56-14. Then on to week 3, and the Trojans were hosting Boston College, and to start this game off, they do a toss to Reggie, and he hits the edge, and he is gone, just running away from these BC defenders, making them look silly. Then throughout the rest of this game, Leinart was picking apart the secondary and racking up huge gains all over the field, passing for 333 yards and really showing why he is one of the best QBs in all of college football, and the Trojans took this one home with ease with a 49-10 win. Then moving into game 5, and we are hosting the Arizona Wildcats, and from the jump in this one, Leinart was on fire. This was his best game of the year so far, and was the first game where he really showed that the pass game could be equally as dangerous without just Bush leading the way, and Leinart passed for 450 yards with both Dwayne Jarrett and tight end Dominique Byrd going for over 100 yards and racking up huge gains down the field. But of course, Reggie wasn't going to be left out, and he added a $140 on the ground, and the Trojans cruised to a 49-21 victory, and they really showed they might be the most complete offense in the country. Then on to week 6, and the Trojans are shooting up the polls all the way to the 5 spot, and the rest of college football is taking notice with the talent on this squad looking like they could be something very special. And they were on the road in South Bend, Indiana to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, but from the get-go, this was another game where the Trojans were just too much to handle, with Leinart connecting for some big plays through the air, and overall Reggie Bush dominating with just shy of 250 yards, and they took this one home 49-20, dropping the Irish down to 1-6 on the year. Now in 2005, Reggie Bush suited up against Fresno State and had his defining game of his college career. He had 294 yards on the ground, breaking off some of the best highlight runs of his life. Then he had 68 yards through the air, showing how deadly he was as a pass catcher. Then lastly, he added 161 yards as a returner, setting the Pac-10 record with 513 all-purpose yards and sealing his Heisman Trophy win. Now it is game 8, and we are in Oregon playing the Beavers, and Reggie had his Fresno State game. In the first quarter, he takes the handoff and hits the edge and is gone in the secondary, and no one is going to touch him. This showed off his 4.3 speed and his ability to hit the edge and be gone with the type of speed that not many players could ever match. Then in the second quarter, he gets another handoff, sees the edge, hits it in an instant, then has one man to beat, breaks him off, and is gone to the races, showcasing that one player in the open field with Reggie Bush has no chance of bringing him down. Then at the start of the second half, he gets another handoff around midfield and finds himself surrounded by about 7 Beavers, and somehow finds his way out of the mess and into the open field, and is gone for another huge touchdown, showcasing his elusiveness and ability to break tackles and score even when there seems to be no open grass. And in this game, Bush was able to rack up 271 yards on the ground. Then he was super dynamic through the air with another 49 yards receiving, and he racked up an incredible 5 touchdowns. And if he is able to take home the Heisman Trophy, then this is the game you will have to look to. So at this point in the year, we are 8-0 and have jumped from the 14th ranked team all the way to the number 3 ranked team in the nation, well on our path to a national championship. Then our goal is to win the Heisman Trophy with Reggie Bush, and so far through 8 games, he is the Heisman favorite. Then lastly, we have to score more than 38.2 points per game to pass the 04 Trojans, and we are leading the country at 44 points per game. Then continuing their Pac-12 schedule with Cal, Stanford, and Colorado, and they came out of these 3 games with a 3-0 record and winning each game very comfortably, and they are looking like one of the deepest and most talented teams ever. Now moving into game 12, and SC was 11-0 and hosting their bitter crosstown rivals in the UCLA Bruins, and if they are able to wrap this up, they will book their ticket to Pac-12 championship and one step closer to making the national championship. And to start it off in the first quarter, it was all Trojans. They perfectly blended the run game on the back of Reggie to gain consistent tough yards, and then off of that, they had a ton of play action plays, making it super tough for the Bruins defense to key in on anyone, and they had a 14-0 lead after one. Then in the second quarter, the Bruins had an answer with a quick score and a field goal, and it was 14-10 at halftime for the Trojans. But after the half, the Trojans needed to start getting more aggressive, and they split Bush out as a wide receiver, and they had him streaking down the sideline for a huge pickup. Then he drops back and throws an out route to Steve Smith along the sideline before handing it off to Lendale, who barrels into the end zone to put them up 2 scores. Then the Bruins go right down the field and score to make it 21-17, and SC gets the ball back, and they need a big drive, and Leinart does a hard play action fake and hits their tight end Bird, and then the next play, Reggie takes a handoff, gets into the open field, and makes magic happen, making people miss and getting the ball all the way down inside the 10-yard line. Then from the 1-yard line, once again, they give it to their battering ram in Lendale White, who scores his second of the day. Then UCLA once again marches right down and scores, and SC gets the ball back with around 2:30 left, and they want to try to run this out, and on second down, they hand it off to Bush, who gets a nice gain and makes it 3rd and 5. Then SC tries to pass it for the first down. Leinart drops back, but nothing is open. He tries to force it in, but it is incomplete, and SC has to punt this ball back to the Bruins. And then on the back of Robinson and Charbonnet, they are able to march down the field with some nice runs and some chunk gains before Charbonnet gets the handoff, bursts through the line, and picks up a huge 25-yard touchdown run to put the Bruins back up 32-28. But then Leinart gets the ball back with 1:15 left, and he hits a cross over the middle for a nice gain. Then the very next play, they call a fake jet sweep, and Dwayne Jarrett's corner falls asleep, and he sprints past him. Leinart sees him open, lofts it up. Jarrett runs under it, and he is gone for a walk-in 70-yard bomb with under a minute left. Wow, what a strike by this SC offense. And that will do it. The Trojans hold on in a nail-biter against their crosstown rival, but that is massive to show they can win a close game and fight through and come out on top. Now, the journey to the Natty starts here. The Trojans have to win this Pac-12 to keep their unbeaten record, and to make the dance, they have to go against their rival in the 1-loss Oregon Ducks, and the winner of this game should book their ticket to the national championship. And SC comes out firing on the first drive. They motion Bush out as a receiver. He streaks in behind the defender, and Bush is gone down the sideline for a massive 70-yard touchdown strike to start this one off. Then SC gets the ball back, and they're past midfield where they hand it off to Bush, who picks up a big gain to get inside the 30-yard line. Then from the 10-yard line, Leinart does a play-action fake, pulling down defenders before hitting Jarrett in the back of the end zone for a touchdown for the Trojans to go back up 14-0. Then Oregon marches right down the field and scores, and SC gets the ball back, and Leinart goes to work, delivering pinpoint throws all over the field, picking the Ducks apart before driving inside the 5. Then on 4th down, he comes up huge, finding his tight end sitting down in the zone and drops it into him for the score, and they go back up 14 before the half. But before the half, Oregon is able to drive down and score and take us to halftime with this tight game with the Trojans up 21-14. Then coming out in the second half, and Oregon goes down to tie it up, and then Leinart gets the ball back and needs to put a drive together. First, he hits Jarrett over the middle for a big gain, then drops back and finds his tight end for another big pickup down the field before they motion their man across the formation, run a counter, hand it off to Bush, who gets to the edge, bursts into the secondary, and he is gone. He dives into the end zone for a huge score to put the Trojans back up 7 late in the third quarter. Then Marcus Mariota leads an amazing drive of his own before punching this ball in to tie it up once again, and this game is just going back and forth. Then SC gets the ball back, and they get it down to 4th and 1, but they want to go for this. They want to end this right here, and Leinart tosses it up, but the receiver is covered. It falls incomplete, penalty, and it is Ducks football. But luckily for the Trojans, they get him to third down. The coverage is great on the back end, and they get a big sack, forcing an Oregon field goal, and they are up 3 with 3 minutes left, and it all comes down to this for the Trojans. And Leinart puts together a great drive, finding receivers for big pickups, but the Ducks were making it tough on the Trojans, coming up with some big tackles and not giving up any explosive touchdowns down the field. Then with 30 seconds left, it is 3rd and goal, and Leinart drops back, scans, sees nothing, and checks it down to the flat, and now it is 4th down. They are inside the 5. They could kick this field goal to tie it, but they are gonna go for it. They want the win, and Leinart drops back, sees Bush breaking over the middle, fires it in, and oh my goodness, what a play. Leinart to Bush with the game on the line, and you couldn't draw it up better than that. And that will do it. The Trojans hold on and win the Pac-12 on an insane drive to just narrowly beat this stacked Oregon squad, and with that, they stay unbeaten and punch their ticket to the national final. And now it all comes down to this. USC fires up to the #1 seed in the country, and they make the national final against the 12-0 surprise UCF Knights, and winning this game would put a stamp on the season and help put this USC team into the conversation for the best college football teams we have ever seen. Now, from the jump in this one, the Trojans dominated, with the talent level difference between these two teams being very apparent. Leinart could just pick them apart at every level of the field, and Bush was too fast, explosive, and dynamic in the open field, and they were up 21-7 at half, really outclassing these Knights. And then in the second half, it was more of the same, and this one was never in doubt. These Trojans had it all: the speed to make plays down the field, the size to bully you up front and spring their runners on the ground, and then they had the ultimate X factor who could do it all. Lightning in a bottle, Reggie Bush. He wrapped up one of the greatest college football seasons we have ever seen, and it puts him in the pantheon of the greatest legends in the history of college football. And the final in this one is 42-14 Trojans, wrapping this up and putting a bow on their magical run, and they have an argument for the greatest college team of all time. So to wrap up this season, we are looking at our goals, and we were able to win the Natty, being the #1 ranked team in the nation and being undefeated, completing this goal. Then we had to win the Heisman Trophy, and we were actually the runner-up, even though we put up an insane, never-before-seen stat line, but we came up just short in this mark. Then lastly, we had to score more than 38 points per game, and we beat this mark, leading the country in scoring with 41.6, knocking out this goal. So this 2004 USC team is one of the best ever. But have you ever wondered what would happen if 12 of the best college offenses of all time were all placed into college football at the same time, playing in the same conference? Well, I just did a 3-year sim of this exact scenario, and to check out what happens, you need to watch this video right here. So at this point in the year, we are 8-0